all set over there.
You're ready to go on your give it a nod and I shall press the record.
Right, far away then.
Right, I'd like to welcome you back to Crawley.
Thank you very much indeed.
Hope you enjoyed last year's.
I did, I enjoyed it very much, but last time I came I'd had about a 7-hour drive before I got here, so I was feeling, you know, pretty jet lagged. But it was altogether quite a jet lagging experience because, you know, to be jet lagged and then come face to face with Katie Manning,
Yes.
that's a daunting experience. I tell you. I love Katie dearly, but she does go on, doesn't she?
I did warn David Good, our other interviewer,
Yes.
what a handful she would be. And,
Yes.
I didn't think he took me seriously. As I met Katie about a week prior to our event,
Yes.
and she was well over the top. I thought, well, I'll pro things when we go.
Yeah.
He had a bit of a shock. When
You had a bit of a warm up with her, in fact. You could say.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
She was very entertaining.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, she's lovely. I mean, she's got that terrific energy, that kind of totally charismatic, starry quality,
Well,
which is quite difficult to talk to, but it's very nice to watch.
that's what you.
Yeah.
We're very sort of a very entertaining
Yes,
person. Though she can do a one-man show, which she has done.
that's right.
So it was a good day, and I hope you enjoyed yourself. So
I did very much indeed. It was good.
we'd like to welcome you back today.
Thank you.
I'd like to start. Recently, in an article in the Who magazine, you
Oh God, you're going to throw my words back at me.
have said that the lottery money, instead of going to one just cause,
Yes.
like Royal Hall, you know, you'd
Yes.
like to see a lot of the actual money being ploughed back into local theatre groups.
Yes, absolutely. I think that theatre is in a very, very bad state at the moment. Actors leave drama school and they have nowhere to practice their art of acting. The thing is that you can only learn so much at a drama school, and then you have to practice. Drama school is merely the training. After that you have to have the apprenticeship. And the apprenticeship in theatre for actors goes on for years. I mean, 10, 15 years before you've really fully matured as a person and also have learnt the techniques as an actor. Now, the awful thing is that nowadays there is nowhere for actors to get their apprenticeship. What happens is, if they're very lucky, they go straight out of drama school into the bill or casualty, and they earn what they think is megabucks for 2 or 3 years, and also that sort of keeps them going, and then they bump really between a bit of telly here, a period of time out of work, some fringe, and then they possibly do a commercial, and they come back into telly. That isn't acting. It's all part of the entertainment business.
Yeah, it's mainly entertainment now.
Yes, but the trouble is that you, without a body of 200 or 300 or 400 theatres employing 20, 30 actors for 12 months or 11 months in a year, they can never develop their craft. And now we're already seeing the effects of that. Any actor over the age of about 40, but most of them can't even speak on stage. You can't hear them if they appear in a theatre. They don't know how to create a character. They don't know how to project to an auditorium of 1,000 or 2,000 people, and they're quite boring to watch. And I mean, that's really sad. So what drama schools tend to be doing is turning out people who are good in front of that funny little camera thing, which is an art, but it's not that full, wonderful, expressive acting.
Well, yeah. Do you find that it's for sort of a sign of the times now, where people don't really go to the theatre now?
It's part of the social change.
It's
yes.
all laid onto them. You know, you go to work in the morning, come home at night, have your evening meal, and then it's just sort of switch on the box and an actual evening's entertainment. Where before, we're talking about what, 20 years ago, well, even further.
Yes.
Where TV was still in its infancy.
Yes.
Where TV's been only been about since 1936.
Yes.
In what you're talking about, the war generation,
Yes.
where there was nothing at all, only in the cinema.
Yes.
But then you're going back after the war when it started to get sort of pick up, late 40s, early 50s. A lot of people, if they wanted to be entertained, the theatre was the only entertainment in that day and age. It's only when sort of, the 60s have come along where TV has sort of taken over. But even then, you had you had sort of like a half and half. People who enjoyed theatre,
Yes.
and you had these sort of young, my age.
Yes.
I'd come out and I was watching, programmes in the early evening.
Yes.
But now it seems that a lot of the people have sort of like, the theatre's gone out and sort of TV and videos are in.
Yes.
And you find that a lot of the actual theatres are closing, like the Worthing one, where I live in Worthing.
Connaught.
And,
Yes.
and the Connaught Theatre
Yes.
is up for renewal again,
Mm.
where you've got a major developer wants to knock the whole lot out,
Mm.
and the actual theatre will be gone. They've either got a choice, I have to make it into a cinema, or and you monitor a whole lot. Well, I think that's quite a shame.
Well, it's terrible, but it's perfectly true. The whole pattern of life has changed. People's habits are different. You go back to Victorian times, and you have all these music halls and all and that there was no home entertainment except gathering around the piano and singing and doing the things that people used to do at home. But people would go out, and that's where you met people and you socialised and you had entertainment, and it was all a good deal of fun. The fact is, you can't put the clock back, I quite agree. And I also agree that part of the reason why theatre doesn't work so much now is that people don't go out so much for theatre. But people do go out, and in the last 3 or 4 years, television has become so bad that in fact I think that people are less inclined to watch television because it is such absolute rubbish. I mean, many programmes are not worth watching at all. Also, another sort of thing that is pro-theatre these days is that in schools, people coming through the school system are getting far more exposure to theatre on a practical level actually in school, and they are interested. Want to go to further education, the demand for vocational courses, particularly acting courses, is absolutely enormous. There are far more people now wanting to be actors, for instance, or be in the arts generally, than ever there were before. So there ought to be, these people ought to be the people who would go out to theatre if there were theatres. And people do go out to films. Films are having quite a boom, and people will go out. But of course, there's another thing. Theatre has got this image of being sort of a middle-class, carriage trade kind of operation, which is very expensive. And that is perfectly true. It is very expensive to go to the theatre. I mean, if you live in the suburbs, you've got to get your train fare up, and if you've got your nice clothes on, you're worried about being mugged on the way home. If you take your car, you can't park it, or it costs a fortune in an underground car park. You sit in seats which are honestly not very comfortable. The facilities are not terribly good. You've got to have a meal. I mean, for 2 people, going to a musical, you're talking of £100. That's a lot of money. And they will go out. People will go out for the musical. So they're happy to be together. But for a straight play, that's quite tricky. I mean, you're still talking about £15, £20 for a ticket.
Yeah, so and the cost of it, of course, what you were saying, the cost of it, where there again at home you think, well, pay me licence, bang, the TV's on.
But what I'm saying is that I think that there are things.
Drivel, really.
Yes, there are things that can be done. There are things that can be done. I mean, theatre does need subsidy. It also needs 2 things. The theatres themselves have got to learn about marketing. They're selling a product. It's no use saying, oh, well, we want to do a bit of T.S. Eliot. That's rubbish. You've got to put on what people like and lead people towards something like T.S. Eliot or Shakespeare or whatever, which is they will love when they get there. But won't get them in. But you have to sell your product, as you're selling a perfume or you're selling shoes or cars or anything else.
The other thing I've noticed over the years is that a lot of the people who started off as in theatre
Yes.
and then has sort of progressed to the TV, which can do both, like you did a few moments ago, when you get a person who just lived RADA,
Yes.
and all they've done is TV work,
Yes.
like you said, then they think, well, I'm out of work now, I'll go and do a bit of stage work,
Yes.
and it falls flat. You know, after they've done the season or the month show,
Yes.
after that, work seizes up and you never hear of them again. But when you find a person who's done theatre first, then gone into TV, those are the people who are, their acting sort of stands out in the crowd.
Oh, yes.
One sort of person who sort of comes to mind is Robert Lindsay.
Yes.
He did a TV show called Wolfie Smith. He was in Wolfie
Yes.
Smith. The character of the Beatles sort of thing.
Yes.
But then he went into acting, on the stage,
Yes.
and he found that much more better.
Yes.
He stayed there for years and years, and then he's just done a drama series, Horatio Hornblower.
Horrible. Yes.
And I think he played that part very, very well.
Yes.
And he just sort of like, it looks at me that he enjoyed acting so much on the stage,
Yes.
instead of acting as a TV character, where it's the same as, again, for Dame Judi Dench. She has sort of been known to do a lot of TV work,
Yes.
but her basics are on the theatre.
That's right. Absolutely.
And it comes across where she was in the last James Bond film.
Yes.
You know, she comes across as a very good character in a James Bond film. But I think if you
Or
saw-
Shakespeare in Love, for
or,
instance.
or Shakespeare in Love, very good, you know.
Mm.
Even got an Oscar for it as a best supporting actor. It comes across because she's had the background.
Yes.
You know, she's done stage work first,
Yes.
and then she's progressed into TV. Where, like you said before, if you do TV work, and about a couple of years down the line, you never sort of like heard of them ever again.
Yes, I mean the thing is also the thing about theatre work is because it doesn't produce so much money, it's very difficult for actors now to go out and do theatre. I mean, I have an immediate example I can give you. I've just this moment, and after this interview, I'm going to speak to the director about it in London. I have been offered to play Claudius in Hamlet and Corin and co-direct As You Like It on a very big Shakespeare festival tour, which is going to Leeds, Lincoln, Leicester, Nottingham, Halifax, London, and I mean it's a very big project. But I mean, I've turned it down actually because when I went and saw the director, he told me all about it. Excellent, excellent ideas he has, and he's done it for 3 or 4 years. He said, we pay your accommodation, we pay your transport, and £100 a week. I said, what? He pays £100 a week. I mean, my standing orders are more than double that for things like gas, electricity, mortgage, you know, all the things that I have to pay for. I can't afford to go out on £100 a week. And the very fact that he should even think that I would do it is, you know, I would love to if I were very rich, then I would do it because I will enjoy doing it. But I mean, that just gives you an indication of the way he's an unfunded company. Now, I mean, the new what's it called? New Shakespeare Company or English Shakespeare Company, they went bust, and they had a grant of 50,000 a year. It's extremely expensive. The thing is, one literally can't afford to do a lot of theatre. It's a luxury. If you've been doing some telly and you've got a bit in the bank, then you can afford to either break even or make a slight loss on the road. Otherwise, it's not on. It sounds as if our salaries are very high, but you've got to think of the times that we're out of work. There are very, very, very few actors. I should think probably 5%, maybe 10, I doubt 10, 5% of the 22,000 people in theatre can honestly say that they earn their living by theatre. Because you may have 2 months out of work. Well, okay, if you work for 2 months on, what should we say, 300 a week, you think, well, that's all right, I can make do on that. But then you're out of work for 2 months, that's 150 a week you've earned.
So really actors sort of really live on a shoestring.
Oh, very much so, very much so.
Yeah.
You get, it's the same, but it's not just theatre, it's every walk of life now. You get your politicians who are earning huge salaries and doing F all for it, to be quite honest.
I agree with you, yeah.
And I'm sorry, I didn't use the word, so that's all right. But they're doing, not representing the people, not listening to what people really want, getting an absolute fortune for it.
That's right.
And everybody else, the chairman and the directors of companies, getting 7-figure salaries. Young people in the city, under 30, earning 100,000 a year plus. Now, I mean, there's got to be something wrong there. I don't understand it. And the majority of people barely surviving on a full day's work.
Yes.
I actually think probably all of us in this room come into that category.
Yes.
You work your socks off, and
That's right.
there's nothing to play with at the end.
That's right, I only barely take home about 150 a week, sometimes.
But that's right. Well, I'm
Yeah.
quite sure. I mean, the wages are a good deal less than that.
And,
I work, it may surprise you to know, in the Royal Pavilion tea rooms as a waiter at £3.65 a week. Oh, a week, an hour. And you've got to work a lot of hours before you have anything in the bank at all. That's under £100. I mean, I actually am very lucky because I have other things. I work in the evening as well. I direct at ACT in Brighton with the Academy of Creative Training. So I can bump my salary up. But a lot of the waiters and waitresses who work with me only live on their waiting. And what is more galling still, we're not allowed to ask for tips because the council won't let us ask for tips. They say it's degrading. And those councillors who run the coffee bar, do tell me they're not getting expenses?
of course.
I mean, it's just, it's one rule for them and one rule for everybody else.
We live in the wrong country, America, that's where they get tips from.
Maybe, but I would hate to live in America. It's a very empty society, I mean, any society that, well, I was going to say, any society that can put Clinton at the head can't be much, but any society that can put Blair at the top can't be much either, quite frankly.
It's too fast for me.
Yes.
I've been there and it's just... What I'd like to really ask you about is...
Getting quickly off politics before it's
One of the things you never talk about is politics and...
Politics, sex and religion, they're the only things worth talking about, so ask me some questions.
Apparently, when you took the part on as Captain Yates,
Yes.
you had one person...
Long hair. Oh, no.
You had one person which was right behind you, and that was Ian Martin for the
I didn't discover that until years later in America, actually, on a panel. And he said, I was up for your part.
It's a bit ironic because when you actually left,
Mm.
and he came in as the...
Well, I thought I'd give the lad a chance.
It was a sort of grueling audition you had to take, isn't it?
Yes, they were actually. I had 3 quite thorough auditions. One with Barry Lads, who is a very nice guy and a real theatre person, producer, who understood Doctor Who. I'm afraid subsequently Doctor Who was not understood by the production, I don't think. Went completely off the rails. I mean, Doctor Who is a particularly English, unique programme, and to try to make it a competitor with Star Trek and so on is ludicrous, because that's a different sort of programme altogether. And we don't have the money to compete anyway, but it's a different sort of programme.
It's the same like you're saying, that a moment ago you've got the Doctor Who and Star Trek where the companies like Paramount can plough so many millions into it and make it, and it was great.
Yes.
And you've got Doctor Who that's got a budget of, say, 3 million in it for the whole series.
Yes.
And you've got, they spent 3 million on one episode.
Yes.
And if you see Star Trek on the telly, like Star Trek Next Generation, I think it's one big bore.
Yes, I mean they're different. I mean, but I do think they reflect the different societies. I mean, Star Trek reflects a very two-dimensional American society. It's great fun. I love America. I have lots of American friends, and I love going there. But it doesn't go very deep. It's a very young society. It doesn't go deep at all. And I mean, a lot of people, you think they're cast by computer. I mean, Baywatch and stuff like that. I mean, there's, you know, they feed in the figures, the size of the mouth and the size, the colour of the eyes, and this, that, and the other, and out pops a name. You know? And, it's all sort of on the surface action, whereas Doctor Who goes right deep into British society, and there are constant references in the Barry Letts and previous producers' work, which reflects things which are very deep in British society. I mean, the relationships of UNIT, for instance, it all comes out of a social system, a military system, which is peculiarly English. And this government, of course, doesn't understand and has willfully tried to destroy. I mean, a lot of the old ties in the army have been completely ruined, you know, by amalgamations and various other things that happen. You know, the loyalty to regiment, for instance, has been very largely destroyed. I mean, it's that kind of esprit de corps, it was called, that actually has made the British fighting force such a good one, because it's on a very personal level.
You were actually in the army once,
I
weren't you?
was in the army, yes. I was in the Green Jackets.
Oh, Green Jacket.
Yeah.
Nice.
Very good regiment, yes.
Nice regiment.
Yes, yeah, they were great. But I mean, I see what's happened in the Green Jackets, and that's been
Has been
watered down,
amalgamated.
amalgamated, and cut down, and what have you. And it's a shadow of its former self.
That's one thing for British Army. We're sort of they've cut the companies or regiments right down. And
Yeah.
You had 5 regiments, and you've made it into one big one.
That's right.
A lot of all the regiments are sadly sort of disappeared now.
Well, they have, and I mean, they had a county basis very often. You know, we recruited from the east end of London, Hampshire, and the Channel Islands, which made it rather a strange cosmopolitan mix. But I mean, you get something like the Hampshire Regiment or the East Surreys or what have you, and they were all people who were related out of the army in different complicated ways.
But did you?
The army, it's not all about UNIT, but nevertheless there are a lot of references to other relationships to British society and so on, which make the programme interesting, even if the sets used to flap around sometimes.
Well, that's all part of the magic of Doctor Who, isn't it?
It is, it's part of the magic of Doctor Who.
Did you find that when you actually got the part of Captain Yates, your army background was rather handy for you? Look, you could go to the sort of director, look, this is the way, you know, we have done it, or did...
Yes, I think all experience helped. Yes, I think it did. Yes, certainly. It did certainly help. I mean, you know, the way I related to Sergeant Benton, for instance, and the way I related to the Brigadier were instinctive ways that one would have been taught to relate in real life.
So, well, I'm stuck a bit here, but I'll carry on.
No, but
the actual part was actually written by Terence Dix, of Captain Yates.
did he create?
Apparently so, yeah. He actually wrote in the Captain Yates. Well, before...
so you learn something every time.
Before
Yes, I didn't learn until I went to Florida that Ian Martin was after my park.
before I actually had the part of Captain Yates, the first season of John Pertwee was, there was quite a few captains.
Yes.
So I think, you know, they wanted an actual person they could rely on all the time. So they were sort of, I think there was a Captain Monroe and one episode, and then there's another captain and another. And I think what they wanted to do was have a partner for Katie.
Yes.
And that's, the Terence think, okay, I'll write this in Captain Yates. So.
Yes. But you see, that triangle of Brigadier, Captain and Sergeant is an extremely good dramatic sort of unit of people with a small u, to write for. I mean, I wrote a play, Recall Unit, which you may know about,
Yes.
the Great Teabag Mystery, and I found how useful it was to have these three characters. The brigadier is older, and the sergeant has to take orders, and the captain is sort of somewhere in between, and it works. It works. The conflicts work very well. I think, didn't I have RHIP in one of the things? Rank has its privileges when I
That's right, yeah. That's down Daleks, yes.
Yes.
Yes, you had a glass of wine and a bit of Stilton, apparently.
Yes, and you'll find me at the front of the food queue in a moment, actually.
Your first day on Doctor Who, was it like a surprise for you, what I let myself in for? You know, did you sort of
Yes,
think...
well, I think that's true of any series. I mean, but I don't think any of us can entirely realise what we had let ourselves in for. But it wasn't cult when I went into it. It was a very popular programme indeed. I mean, 12 million viewers. Well, it was about 8 million, I think, when I went in. After I went in, it went up to 12. It was a popular programme, but it wasn't cult. We didn't have the Doctor Who fandom, or you lot. You hadn't got yourselves together, I don't think, then, had you?
No, 76 we started.
That's right. That was, yes, when I left, you realised you had to do something to keep me alive. I mean,
Well, this is it. Really.
it is.
We knew a good thing, so...
Yes, you knew a good thing when you
Sorry.
spoke. No, but I didn't, to be honest, I didn't know about fandom at all for several years. Or everybody else had been doing these wonderful conventions and having fun meeting you all and everything. And I was off directing in Yorkshire and directing in Suffolk at Ipswich and things. And I didn't realise all this was going on. And then I suddenly, about halfway through or more, got asked to things. And I find it great.
I think you'll find that was about sort of 1977, 78 when things started really to be taken off.
Yes.
So you were in and out of sort of Doctor Who on various episodes.
That was because of me, not because of the programme. They were always asking me to do more. But I was directing up in Yorkshire. I directed a youth theatre up in Yorkshire. And then I went off, became associate director of the Ipswich Theatre. And I was just not able to do the work that I was offered. I always used to try to appear at least for 1 or 2 episodes, just to keep the character alive. But it physically wasn't possible. It's a shame in the light of the past events. It would be nice to have had more, but there you go.
Your actual last story, which is The Planet of the Spiders,
Yes.
was that your decision to go, or was
No.
it the BBC's?
No, BBC's. But the thing is, all of us left around that time. I mean, Roger Delgado's death was a severe shock to the programme. And I mean, as I was saying about the triangle of unit, the 3 army people, the 6 of us who were principals also were a very important unit. I mean, the master balanced the doctor, and the master goes. Then Katie wants to go off and get married, and John wants to disappear. Well, you've got to start again at that point, you know.
Yeah. Did you actually find it hard, or were you sort of like, you were really lucky after you left Doctor Who? It was quite a...
Well, I don't think that, it's funny that, you correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that people who've been on the programme have done that noticeably well afterwards, actually. I mean, I went into a different field. I went into directing, and I've sort of kept going with directing and acting and doing a number of things. But the girls, for instance, haven't done very well, and it doesn't reflect on their talent. But I don't know whether there may be some sort of horrible little man in an office in the BBC somewhere who says, no, we've used them on Doctor Who, we can't use them on something else.
I do call it the curse of Doctor Who, it's sort of like lonely older companions after they've left Doctor Who.
Yes.
They sort of like, I think there's only been a couple, which is Louise Jameson has been sort of quite well.
Yes, she's done quite well, yes.
But, other than that, a lot of them were sort of trying to get stage work or film.
What I wanted to do actually was to go into television direction, and Barry Letts tried very hard to help me, and I mean if anyone could help me, he could. He was senior producer at BBC. But just the year that I wanted to do it, the cuts came. And whereas they'd taken a whole lot of people as trainee directors, that year they weren't taking any at all. They didn't take any for a couple of years. So it was, you know, timing, bad luck. But then I went into other things anyway. So I mean, I've been very lucky actually. I mean, I've had some nice work, and not everything that I want to do. I've still.
You still got the dream.
Oh, well, most definitely. It's going to be realised too. I mean, I've not stopped yet. I can assure you, I shall never stop. But it's not a good time for theatre people, whoever you are. So, because there isn't, you know, the programmes are not being made. The whole setup of television is changed now. It's all been that Margaret Thatcher white paper. We've been taken over by accountants and administrators.
Yeah.
And not just the theatre, hospitals, schools, prisons, everything now is the bottom line. It's people making money out of it.
That's right.
Not people who care about the work for itself. And I think that is appalling.
And the other thing is, people making money out of it never plough it back in.
Of course they don't know. Look at the railways.
Yeah, that's it, yeah. They're
Yeah.
taking so much money out of it, and the services
Yeah.
are getting very, very bad, actually.
No, I feel very sorry for railway staff. I don't know if I'm looking at one at the moment. But I mean, they get all the stick from the public, and they don't deserve it, because what is actually happening is that the directors and the shareholders are getting all the profit. And as a result, you see weeds growing all the way along the line in Brighton Station.
Yeah.
And it worries me. If there are weeds growing among the rails...
It doesn't stop there, it goes right down, right round the corner, right down to work. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's not just an isolated problem, it's
Yes.
everywhere. But there again, it's like you say, it's management which taking the cream off the top.
Absolutely.
And the poor old chap on the platform's getting the stick.
Is he a railway manager?
No, I don't think he... Oh, is he? I don't know.
Is he?
We'll
Oh.
talk later.
Well, a word to say to you then in that case. Don't ask him into lunch. He has boardroom lunches every day, probably.
Only on expenses.
What I'd like to do is to open it up to the people here.
I'm sure we're going to have a defence from...
For questions now.
Which is it? Connex South East?
While I can think of other questions.
No, you've been travelling on my line, South Central.
That's right. Yes, I have, yes.
Yes.
You...
I take money over the full expenses. I'm a conductor.
Oh, are you?
He
Oh,
drives.
right.
He drives, I collect.
No, you're not the people. I'm not because you're here and I don't want to have my face bashed in. You're not the people I get at. It's the people who do nothing and just... Okay, if rail has been privatised, I think that's probably a sensible thing to have done, because the state can't pay for all these huge services, because the state is us. And if you want to have 98% tax, fair enough. But it's better to let private companies, if they're efficient, do it. Or, there's got to be a balance, and it's just a question of balance, really. The ombudsman, or whoever it is who deals with it,
He's got to do his job properly.
he's got to do his job properly.
That's right.
Exactly. It's no use wagging fingers and saying, "Oh, naughty boy."
That's right. It's like you say, the state of the railway, you know. We've got weeds going about 4 foot high now, you know.
That's me.
What's going to happen?
It's very nice you collect wild flowers.
It is. You don't have to look at the windows no more, you know, to look at
You
wild
can't
flowers.
see out of the windows.
You can't see out of the
There's a
windows.
jungle. Yeah.
You know.
I'm surprised the drivers can see to drive the trains, quite honestly.
Well, I
And
like that.
have a little man with shears going out in front.
When winter comes, they just say, well, there's big plants on the line.
Yeah.
There's leaves on the line, there's big plants on the line this year.
Yeah, that's...
So, you know,
Day of the truth.
has anybody got a question for Richard?
Richard, you paint a fairly grim picture of young people coming into acting profession these days. Is that true? I mean, is it as difficult, or
Frankly, yes, I think it is. I mean, I don't want to paint a grim picture, but and I think if the tragedy is, if you have the theatre bug in you, it's a psychological need, and it's all to do with talent as well. But if you have that within you, then you really have to have the means of expression. I mean, I don't know what the answer is, quite honestly. I think there are two things. I mean, at the moment, yes, it is grim, because no way can theatre sustain the thousands that are coming in. There aren't that many thousand jobs to give people. So it means that statistically, the majority of people are going to be out of work the majority of the time. There are two things you can do. One thing, lottery money and Arts Council money can be put into re-establishing regional theatres, and they have got to be made to work, so that there are more jobs, instead of all the money, or the vast proportion of it, going to the National Theatre, for example, or being dissipated in millions of very worthy little fringe groups. But if it was centralised, and you had at least start with the mainstream, and when you've got a bit more money, then you can do your fringe stuff. That's one thing you could do. The other thing, I think that, and I'm toying with the idea, I haven't got time at the moment, but I'm toying with the idea of taking a leaf out of the Amateurs book. Amateur theatre, of course, is a different thing altogether, but they will put on a play perhaps once every 3 months. And they will rehearse 2 or 3 hours a night, perhaps 2 or 3 evenings a week, for 2 or 3 hours, over a period of 12 weeks, and then produce a play. Now, I think perhaps professional theatre ought to be thinking of this, so that you have a day job, and actors don't live on the theatre anymore, that they have a job, cutting daisies down for Connex South East, or whatever. No, seriously. And then they get their theatre experience on Tuesday and Thursday evenings, and for 12 weeks, and then produce on a really professional play in 12 weeks' time. And, you know, maybe they get some money from it. Maybe a very small percentage of them have a career in television, West End theatre and the rest. Then I think, and therefore what you're going to need is groups of perhaps 50 people or so. This is what I'm thinking of doing in Brighton, when I've got a little bit of time, is to get a group of perhaps about 50 actors, actresses, centred perhaps on a pub, and work it so that all the plays are cast from those 50 people, so they know that they are a company. They get to know each other, they get a house style. We cast every part, double, triple cast it, so that if someone has to go off the day before to do a telly, they go, and there's always 1 or 2 more people immediately to step in. Then we get a reputation for doing very high quality shows, not fringe, really high quality professional shows once every 3 months. And you can build up a repertoire so that in fact, eventually, quite soon, you will have a play on every week. And the cast will change slightly, but they'll all be highly professional. And the people involved will not be relying on that work to live. They'll be doing a day job. And those are the 2 solutions that I can see. It also, I mean, the thing is, you've got to get your audiences. And as you know, you were asking me earlier, I mean, the thing is, audience patterns, the public patterns of behaviour have changed. But I think people do want to be entertained, provided the entertainment sort of suits them. It's in a place that they can get to and park their car and have a meal and be comfortable, meet their friends, not be mugged on the way home, and at a reasonable price. If you get those things right, I think people will come back to the theatre again.
Yeah, definitely. Because and we're not talking just about actors as well. We're talking about stagehand, prop people,
Oh, that's right,
lighting.
Yes. Oh yes.
You know, if the theatres do go, then it's going to have a real knock-on effect. Because a lot of other people, like a stagehand. Now, even TV has a stagehand or stage manager. Even TV's got a prop.
Oh my goodness me, the people who support the one actor on stage. Yeah. It's a pyramid of people who are involved. And the suppliers in society and transport people, everything is affected.
There is people from stage who do go into actual TV, you know, now and again, go through their life. So, you know, if the actual theatre does go, it'll have a knock-on effect on the TV news. Yeah. What will happen is, you'll have no new actors coming in, because there's so many, you know, you can only make so many programmes in a day. TV, where you've got RADA,
Mm.
you know, a stage school, and another one, I can't remember which one's name is now. You know, those places will go, because, you know, we're not, you know, you have all these students at RADA, and they just say, well, I'm afraid only 22% of you will actually get anywhere in life.
Well, that's exactly what is happening at the moment, and in fact, RADA is the odd man out at the moment, fortunately, because they're very lucky. They've got a lot of money, and they don't depend on the state, or their students don't depend entirely on state grants to go there. They've got a lot of money to give scholarships, so they are independent to some extent. But other places, Mount View, for instance, which I've been known someone who's been going through there for 3 years, they've had to change their course to a university degree course. Well, what the hell has a university degree got to do with being an actor? And I mean, that is excluding a whole lot of people who are not particularly academic or intellectual, but they can't get a grant because they can't hit the degree level. So they're going to get the wrong sort of students. But the school's all right. The school's getting its money still, and it's churning out people who probably, some of them, are not right for the theatre anyway.
They probably won't work at all, because, you know...
No, they won't. They won't. So I mean, you know, that's a huge problem.
Anybody else with a question? Yeah, carry on.
When you left the army to go into acting, did you have it as a long-term aim to direct and to produce, or did that sort of come as a consequence of having spent time as an actor?
Well, first of all, I didn't leave the army to go into acting. I left the army to go to university with a view. I can't remember what particular career I decided on at the time. I think it varied initially with Foreign Office, and then I decided I wasn't clever enough with Foreign Office, and I thought that I'd pursue a law career. And so I think that's what I told the people at university I was going to do, that I was going to be a lawyer. Actually, when I got there, when I was just about to leave university, to actually be an actor or anything in theatre never crossed my mind. Never crossed my mind. I acted at school. My father told me he didn't want me to have anything to do with the theatre at Oxford because he thought it would distract me from my studies. And when it came to leaving, I didn't want to be a lawyer anymore, and I didn't know what I could do that would appeal to my father. Well, the only thing that would appeal to him would have been a doctor, which he was, but I didn't want to do that. So I went into advertising, and which seemed to be a business, but it was also a creative business. And I did that for a couple of years, and then we had very awful family tragedy, and one morning I woke up and I thought, I want to be an actor. And I'd never thought of it before. It was just that it was one of those, it was the result entirely of shock. It was like sort of exploding the cork out of a champagne bottle. The shock of shaking the bottle and the cork came out, and suddenly I realised that what I'd always wanted to do was to be in the theatre. And I then secretly applied for RADA and got in, and then told my parents that I'd given up my job and that I was going to be an actor. And that wasn't very popular. Not my father, it wasn't. My mother took a deep breath and said, well, it's what you've always wanted, isn't it? Well, I hadn't a clue that I'd always wanted it, but she knew. My father didn't speak to me for a fortnight.
Yeah,
Literally.
a sort of a deep, subconscious.
Yes. No, it had been there right from earliest childhood. That's why it's so sad when people don't have the outlet in theatre, because, I mean, I'm not the only person who wants to be an actor, you know. And if you've got it in you, you've got to give it a try, you've got to get it out.
Anybody else?
So, no, to actually directly answer your question, I didn't know when I left the army that it was theatre that I wanted, though any opportunity to act I'd always taken, even in the army. got away with a drag act in the army. I don't know how I managed to do it.
High spirits. it's
Yes,
called.
yes, that's right.
Or conduct unbecoming.
Yeah, well, high spirits, I think. Yes. And when I went into RADA, I hadn't thought I wanted to direct, but I've always been interested in writing. When I was at RADA, I did a student production, which was very, very successful. It was the first one to transfer out of the academy, and it got a rave notice in the Times and blah blah blah. And the principal had me in his office and said, "This is the editor of the Times." And I nearly fainted. And no, I think you ought to direct, and I'll get you a job in rep as an assistant director. And I said, "But I don't know anything about directing. I've just done one good production." He said, "Oh, you'll learn." I said, "It's all bluff." And I said, "No, thank you. I want to be an actor first, learn about the business, and then I'll direct," which is what I did. So I worked for 7 or 8 years as an actor. In rep. How lucky. You know, Century Theatre in Keswick, and Bristol Old Vic, and Birmingham, Ipswich. Marvellous places, which don't exist in the form they did then. And then I gradually eased into directing as well.
So do you do any acting at all now?
Oh yeah, it's all the time. Yeah, all the time. Just you haven't seen me. I do some
Well, that's the trouble. Unless you're on, you see people on the television.
Unless you're on television, you're not
No,
seen.
it's not.
No. I did a fringe production of Another Country in Brighton about a couple of months ago. I did Abanazar in pantomime recently. I can never remember what I have done, but I've been doing quite a lot actually. I played Monsieur Jourdain, the bourgeois gentilhomme. But these are all very recent things. I have a lot of things I can't remember.
In the Great Teabag Mystery, pardon the expression, you were
Yes.
cast in.
Why should you pardon the expression? It's the title I gave it.
No, you were wearing some other outfit other than the combat uniform with wings.
Oh yes. Was that Sisters? No.
No, in the actual Teabag Mystery, you were wearing a sort
Oh, was
of
it?
fairies type outfit.
Or an army outfit?
No, fairies.
Fairies.
With the wings.
Oh, the fairy with the wings. I can't remember that. What was that? What was it? Was I Queen Elizabeth first?
No.
Oh God, it's going to show me a picture.
Yeah, very short picture, yeah.
Oh yes, that's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's nice.
Was that part of the actual act, or was it just something you put in to sort of...
Oh no,
strengthen?
I'd completely forgotten that actually. What was it? Was I in disguise?
That's what I mean, because I haven't actually seen that particular
Photograph.
one. No.
Yes. Yes. No. I think I was being a very brave spy at the time, wasn't it?
Something, it was, I
Of
haven't
course. I
actually
wouldn't
seen
do it because I enjoyed doing it.
No, that's what I mean. It
No,
was
no,
sort of...
No, it's part of military action.
Orders. As Benton would say, orders, sir.
Orders, exactly. Yes.
Yeah. So, as we were speaking in the garden, you mentioned another series you've been in, Pathfinders.
Yes, absolutely. If you can get a copy of it, as I said, I think the episode I was on was called Escape, but it's very good. I mean, they had I was a principal on Doctor Who, and we had guests. On Pathfinders, I was a guest on a 12-part series, all about the Lancaster bombers, and it was good. But you know, to be in a theatre, if you're a real theatre, you really have to be dedicated. The producer of Pathfinders was a man called Martin Landau, and he was very keen on this idea. And he sold everything to put his money into it, which is great.
That's where you find people who put not just a heart, but every
Yeah, they put their money where their
yeah.
mouth is, definitely, yes. I mean, this is the trouble, you know, actors are constantly saying, you know, actors are subsidising theatre, which we are today. But it shouldn't be entirely like that. I mean, you have to be paid to do your job. You know, you have to have a value, you have to have a worth, really.
If you, shall we say, see like stories like the Five Doctors that come back with, shall we say, little cast cameos, have you thought about returning to the Doctor Who as, although after the Planet of Spiders you were medically discharged?
Oh, no, I'd love to do a Doctor Who again. No, I'd love to do it. There are some Doctor Who actors who say, oh no, it's all past now, and that's absolute rubbish. I mean, the whole thing, it's an ongoing thing. It's been going for 35 years, for goodness sake. It can go on. You can bring people back in all sorts of different ways. I personally would love to do it, because, I mean, every actor's dream is to play a good part, which connects with the public. I mean, all artists' work is a communication thing, isn't it?
Would you come back?
Painters, I mean, they want their paintings to be looked at, to be seen.
No, but I mean, would you come back as a completely new character?
As a new character.
Or as the old?
I think if I were in Doctor Who, I'd want to be my same character. Well, I am Captain Mike Yates. I couldn't come back as a Dalek or something. No, or anything
not
else.
that I mean.
No, I wouldn't want to come back as anything else. I mean, I think that would be confusing, because if I came back, I am Captain Mike Yates coming back.
Yeah,
Even if I say I'm Joe Smith.
Or you could have said you'd gone through a sort of undercover role where you sort of left the army.
Oh yes.
Come back.
No, that would be acceptable, and you turn up in a ministry somewhere, or. But you're still Mike Yates.
That's it. Yeah.
Yes.
The character, the main sort of hub.
The person
yeah.
remains the same, even if his function has become different.
There is a chap called Nick Briggs who does produce
Yes.
a sort of spin-off Doctor Who
Yes.
stories. Quite a lot of the actors. Sylvester McCoy has done quite a few. So
Yes.
has Peter Davison. Even John Laverne has done
Yes.
wartime.
Yes.
If he actually came to you with a script, he said, look, we'd like to do a story of Captain Yates
Yes.
after he's left Union, after Planet of the Spiders.
Yes.
Would you go for that?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah, really,
Yeah, most definitely.
well-written scripts.
Yes, definitely. I mean, the thing is that I'd probably write something myself, actually, but if you came to me with one that was well written, I would love to do it. But the thing is that over the last, for a number of years, my life has been very disjointed indeed. Partly because I've been living in North Yorkshire, and so I've always been on the move. Now I'm living in Brighton, and I live at home, and I work from home, and I cannot think why I didn't live there before. It's such a good decision to have, and also I have a much smaller house, so that I don't have to worry about roofs falling in and this, that and the other. And I'm free to do these things. It's just that the move has been very, very difficult for a number of reasons that I won't bore you with, but I'm now practically settled. I've nearly got the place sorted out, and I hope to write a lot more. I've got, as you know, this book that I've done the first draft of, and we're still talking about it, but I hope to get down to that this year. In fact, really very shortly, in a couple of months' time.
We've got a book coming out, haven't we?
Oh, but no, this is not new. I mean, actually, I think it's been talked about. I've probably given the idea to a lot of other people who've actually brought their books out. It's not an autobiography, it's what happened to Mike Yates after he left the Planet of the Spiders.
Oh, right.
And it's called Killing Stone.
Well, hopefully Nick Briggs will see it in the same book.
Well, indeed, yes. I'm actually working, or about to work, with a Doctor Who fan who rang me last night, in fact, on the second draft. So, well...
So that's something for the future then.
Yes, and not too distant now, I hope. But I keep on putting it back, because I just haven't had time.
Anybody else got a question for Richard?
Did you have any input into the way your character changed in that last series, or season rather, when you went through Invasion and then to about the Spiders and actually went sort of away from the military?
No. I mean, in the broad terms, none of us had any actual input into that. In broad terms, the script editors, script writers had planned which way the characters were going to go. But in terms of actual detail, yes, we did. I mean, as not on the first sort of few months of working on the programme, because there's a trust thing has to go up. But once the character was established, and you get to know the script editors and writers and blah blah then you could make little suggestions, and people would ask you your opinion about things, which was great. And then, but of course, you see, and as you know, in quite a lot of the episodes, I'm trying to think of some examples. The Green Death, for instance, an awful lot of our personal views were being written into the characters, and you get this thing with long-running series that sometimes it's very difficult to disentangle the person, the actor, and the character, because everything gets all sort of mixed up. In the Green Death, for instance, there was a lot of Katie Manning's views about sort of healthy eating and the sort of the green world. In also in the Green Death, there was quite a bit about my politics, liberal politics at the time. And in fact, I don't remember, the Prime Minister came on the telephone, and the actor at the other end was saying, "Yes, Jeremy, yes, Jeremy." Of course, Jeremy Thorpe at the time was, it looked as if he might actually take the premiership. So there was a good deal of input, and also the writers get to know the sort of things that you do best, and that, consciously and unconsciously, the two things come together.
In your role as Captain Yates, is there a particular section or act within there that sticks in your mind as the best part you've actually portrayed?
I don't know, there are things that I've enjoyed very much. Things like, I love the humour, I like the comedy part, actually. I'll tell you what the bits I like least, when I'm seen running, trying to look brave and flinging myself on the ground. I always think I look very unconvincing. But I like, there are lovely things with the Bunsen burner and things like that, which are nice character things. And there's an awful lot that I like about it, actually. But I prefer the wordy things to me running around in battle dress. I never felt they were the best moments.
Pardon the expression, did you do your own stunts, or were you, pardon the expression, valuable enough to have a stunt person?
Too valuable, you mean?
Yes.
I was too valuable.
Because one scene you were riding a motorbike.
Yes.
Shall we say, I wasn't quite sure if you were actually one-handed whilst using the talking on your little cellular.
I was riding the motorbike.
Yeah.
But the motorbike was on the low loader.
Ah. Because in the scene it shows it on the ground actually with no low loader.
That's right. Yes.
Yes.
That's the art of television.
You know that camera trick.
No, well, the thing is that they assumed, because I rode a Honda 50 in real life, that I could handle a 650, 750 Triumph twin, blah blah, I don't know what it was, and they were wrong. I found it too powerful, and they wanted good speed shots. Actually, the way to do it is on a low loader. That is the correct way to do it, because if you've got dialogue, because then you can hold the thing steady and you can do the dialogue properly. But the Doctor Who, of course, was trying to save money, and it takes time to get you on a low loader. Actually, in the end, they took more time because they had to put me on a low loader, much to John Pertwee's annoyance.
How was John Pertwee to work with? Because I've met him, I met him 3 times before he actually passed away, and I always found he was entertaining and sort of unique, but I have heard stories that he can be a right old stick in the mud sometimes.
Oh, no, I think all of us can be difficult, but no, I'd say he was very good to work with indeed. He was an extremely good leading man for the series, because he took an interest, personal interest, in all the actors. He knew from theatre background what sort of discipline was needed. He was very amusing, very funny, he kept us all highly amused and happy. But he had his standards of perfection, and if things didn't go exactly the way that he felt they ought to be going, he wasn't backward in coming forward, which I think is absolutely right. He was very easy to work with, actually, very easy to work with. I don't know whether the producers would always agree with that, but then the producers weren't always easy to work with either. I mean, you sometimes have to fight for your corner. And I would say he was very good, indeed. And we can all have an off day.
Yeah, he smoked a lot as well, didn't he? John.
Yes, he did smoke, I think.
Yes, he smoked a hell. First time I met him was in '94 up in London, and I smoked myself.
Yes.
I always remember I was sort of like one of about the fourth person to be asked for an autograph, and I remember him saying to the person who sits beside you, takes either the money or says, well, that photograph's £2.50.
Yes.
He went, I'm dying for a fag.
Actually, that's funny.
This is John, and he said, John Perrin, I'm dying for a fag. And I automatically said, yeah, so am I, And also, out come cigarettes, and I thought,
Funnily enough, I don't have a mental picture of him with a cigarette in his hand. I can never remember him smoking.
a lot of actors, they tend to sort of like, if they do smoke, they keep it way out in the background. And I thought, but Tom Baker didn't smoke in Towers. Elizabeth Slaney smoked.
Does she? Yes.
And Katie Madden.
Filthy habit.
And Katie Madden smoked like a trooper. He was like 3 chilies last year.
Well, by the end of today, we'll get you off smoking. If I'd known you were a smoker, I wouldn't have spoken to you.
Well,
You look very ill, too.
it is the work I do. And I get their penance, I get paid a pittance, but I've got to really work hard for it.
For the cigarettes.
Yeah.
You work for the cigarettes. If you get paid a pittance, why do you smoke? They're about £4 a packet, aren't they now?
I've been trying to give it up. It's one of those things I
Weak willed. That's your problem.
Very weak willed. Well, I've got to see a doctor who's video on the shelf. I've got to buy it. So.
Your breath smells like an old ashtray. Do you know that?
I expect it does. I've been chewing gum.
I'm joking.
I've been chewing gum all morning, trying to try and hide it.
No, there's nothing worse than a reformed smoker, actually. I used to smoke a little. I've never smoked heavily, but I used to sort of social smoke. And well, I like all the things that go with it, all the sort of cigarette holders. All that.
I started smoking just for the sort of hell out of it, but now I wish I hadn't. But there we go, that's life. Nobody was.
The trouble is, it's part and parcel of what everybody else is doing. When it's whatever else is doing, I know that sort of that peer group pressure thing, I think, is quite frightening in a way. I suppose it's the thing that keeps societies together. I mean, it's a very basic primal instinct that we try to be like each other, which keeps societies together. But when it comes to taking cocaine and E and all that sort of business, I think it's tragic.
Well,
Absolutely tragic.
Well, it's a waste of time, I think.
It's more than a waste of time.
Well, it's a waste of life, really.
It's a waste of life. It's wicked.
It's,
But I don't know how, it seems so extraordinary. Perhaps the way to sort of combat drugs is to provide something that's equally exciting, that people can go for.
Doctor Who. Well,
Absolutely, but he's got Doctor Who and he still smokes like that.
no, actually, there is a point there. I've always found that Doctor Who fans are very pleasant, wherever you go.
I haven't found that.
You can be in... that must be America. But, no, you can go into a queue and wait for an autograph or whatever, and people you don't even know about will turn around and just sort of talk to you. And they give you the time of day.
There's an identity of interest, yes, definitely. No, it is noticeably a big happy family, actually.
Yeah,
It's very nice.
I don't know if you found that yourself, when you go to
very much so,
a signing or you've gone to a convention, that a lot of the, well, all the participants, all the people in the audience are so warm and friendly.
Oh, definitely. But of course that is a special thing because people have all come together with the same interest.
Is there anybody else who's got a question for Richard?
Castle.
Yeah,
Okay.
go ahead.
If you were approached and somebody said to you, would you be interested in making Doctor Who as a television programme?
Yes.
Could it be done today?
Well, of course it could be done, yes.
But I mean, bearing in mind, see, a lot of sci-fi now is all special effects, a lot of money spent on it.
Yes,
If you accept that the program would be made in this country, and you wouldn't get those budgets thrown at it.
yes.
I ask the question, as somebody who's been involved in putting productions on, could it be done as a TV program?
Well, it certainly could. You'd obviously need money to do it. I mean, I think the way productions tend to be happening now is that independent companies make a program and then sell it to a company. I think that some companies do also produce the money and produce their own programs. I'm not certain that Yorkshire, for instance, do they? I think they do make some of their own programs, don't they, still? And but there's much less of that. No, of course it's possible, but I mean, I don't know because I don't produce, but I don't know what the figures are, but they'll be pretty high. I mean, if you're making a television series, even if you made one story with say 4 episodes, I think you're talking a lot of money. I can't remember what it was for Doctor Who at that time, how much they set aside. But the figures would be completely different now anyway, but it's quite a lot even then, I think. It'd be 100,000 or something for a 5-part story, I think.
Any other questions before we close?
How do you feel about the new Doctor, shall we say, the one to go from Sylvester in the film mode?
Do you know the awful thing is I haven't ever seen the film.
It's been repeated on BBC twice.
Yes, but I haven't seen it. I don't watch BBC very much. In fact, I even said I wouldn't pay my licence fee, and could I use my television just to watch videos? And they said yes, I could. That was DVL. I spoke to the tax man. And then actually I did buy a licence fee because I had some friends coming to stay and I knew they'd want to watch television and I wanted to watch David Frost. But I think it's such absolute rubbish on BBC, and I so hate Sir John Burt and everything he stands for and everything he's done for or ruined on BBC. We had the best television service in the world, and that's not just being sort of, chauvinistic. BBC was fantastic. I mean, in the traditions of BBC radio, public service broadcasting, the role that BBC took on itself, the news programmes that were respected the world over, and it's now sunk because some ruddy little accountant has taken over and reduced everything to the bottom line. So I don't want to watch BBC anymore. Actually, I'm just up for a BBC comedy programme at the moment. No, but I mean, I think everybody would say the same thing, actually. I mean,
Well, I agree with you entirely there.
It's a political decision, again, it's politics.
Yeah, it's gone right downhill.
Tony Blair's friends are running BBC now. What do you expect?
Last question before we...
How do you think the Doctor Who works on the audio dramas? Have you heard any of those?
Varied.
Yeah.
Varied. I think that, I welcome it all. I think it's good that people are writing scripts and recording things and trying, but some of them are better than others.
Last one. Well, Richard Franklin, I'd like to thank you once again.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.